Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and once again, it's your host, the Truth Buster, and it's August 31st, 2015. I want to thank you for joining me on Truth Buster TV. Okay, I have another article here from ANP. It's titled, Trigger Events May Soon Lead to War in America. More proof U.S. military is training for a collapse and civil disorder. Have we already passed the breaking point? With the U.S. and South Korea now staging the biggest ever light drill between the two nations in preparation for something big, as shared in the second video below, just one of the myriad events taking place on the international stage that signal the coming end game. Alex Jones takes a look at some of the signs we are still seeing on an increasing basis here in America that prove our own military is prepping for domestic disorder in our own country. In the first video, he also warns us of the worst-case scenarios come to pass. Americans may soon be welcoming the military in the streets and the police state to restore order. Jones tells us that while the globalists are trying to maneuver our society into a position where Americans will soon be begging for protection, he also warns that the Infowar is about making sure that America never goes down that path, where Americans feel they need the military in the streets for protection. While Jones begins with the story reported on ANP days ago about a massive drill in Florida that Fort Bragg troops will be taking place in, he quickly moves into this preparation all across the country as being for economic collapse taking place. George Soros and the George Soros-backed race war trigger events that will be used to paint peaceful, patriotic Americans as terroristic. We see the horrifying story out of Houston. That is up on Infowars.com. To the Houston cop killer who took the life of a sheriff's deputy only days after a radical black group called for killing cops and lynching whites. And you can find that article on Infowars.com as well. Titled, Infowars.com, Texas deputy executed Days black radical group calls for killing cops. Should Black Lives Matter now be held responsible for the murder? Breitbart.com, Texas black activists called for lynching and hanging of whites and cops. Talking on the same story of Deputy Darren Goforth after members of the BLM movement went on a radio show encouraging others to turn the tide, sent a message by executing cops and whites. You can hear that call for terror in the third video below, our call for executions. How are they allowed to get away with such speech? Advocating for violence is a crime, is it not? Yes, it is. And here's another event that's going to be possibly added to the race war here in America, funded by George Soros and the Obama administration has came out as well, supporting the Black Lives Movement. But I've seen a couple of videos from Dave Acton on his YouTube channel breaking down the ferocious and insane speech given by Louis Farrakhan, saying that during the 10 million man march, he's calling for action of the black community to rise up And when he gave that speech for inciting violence, and the comments and remarks that he made, he wasn't charged with anything. Nothing. That's how bad this country has gotten. And it's going down further and further and further. The article also goes on to say, will Soros push for a race war in America? Well, that's pretty evident. He's funded the group to help keep the race war fueled, so why wouldn't he? But will he push it in America led to law-abiding Americans of all races pleading for the U.S. military and militarized police to take over the streets, small towns, and big cities. Will Americans soon be begging for martial law in America? As Max Lavo says in a story on shtiaplan.com, the article headline, News Fort Bragg troops are trained for domestic emergency. This exercise is all about the home front. What we are watching now unfold in Florida with Fort Bragg troops borders on disaster. Slightly below the surface, these Fort Bragg Army engineers are also training, this time in Florida, to assist local authorities in the event of domestic disorder and potential chaos, prepared to quell civil unrest, riots, mass unrest, or even the aftermath of terrorist attacks. Scenarios which could all be really coming to America. And that's when the potential for martial law kicks in. It also goes on to say, early Friday morning, more than 300 20th Engineer Brigade soldiers prepared convoys over the next 5 days as they will join more than 400 additional troops in an emergency deployment readiness exercise. While the soldiers may be called on domestic and foreign disasters, this exercise is about the home front and how to handle a situation that's overwhelming to local and state officials. Gee, I wonder, where does Jade Helm come into play? This is part of Jade Helm. If you remember when it broke almost 4 months ago, and you look at the document, it stated to train local and state police on riot and dissident control. That's just one of the parameters. And we've seen that carried out in Baltimore. So I believe that George Soros has his hand with Jade Helm, because this article right here in black and white states how the military is being sent to help with rioting. And I'm here to tell you that they are going to implement martial law. It also goes on to say, while the soldiers may be called on domestic, foreign disasters, this exercise is about the home front and how to handle a situation. The home front. that's overwhelming to local and state officials. I repeated that. To get it out there. It is absolutely essential to ensure trained and ready forces, Gilbert said. I don't believe we are never not ready. You can never be ready enough. This domestic training is underway. The emergency deployment readiness exercise is coinciding with the very unstable period of stock market collapse. Ooh! This domestic training under the emergency deployment readiness exercise is coinciding with a very unstable period of stock market collapse. So there's more than one agenda for Jade Helm. And I picked up on those a few months ago. I never told anybody about it. I might have. I don't remember in one of my videos. But Jade Helm is going to be for the collapse. But at this point, for the rioting that's already happening now, so there we have it, directly from the ABC 11 in North Carolina. Overwhelming the state and local officials, Americans begging for the U.S. military in the streets. Isn't that just what George Soros and the globalists want? Exactly. America, we're much better than falling for Soros' race war. Are we? I hope to God we are. All humanity is counting upon us with the horrifying killing of an innocent man in Houston who is only doing his job, and they're caused by terrorists to murder cops and whites. Is it already far too late? Have we passed the breaking point? I don't know. I really don't know. I think we have. I hope that I'm wrong. I really do. But I've seen so many things unfold, watched so many videos over the last few months. Seen local news where I live. I mean, it's not that bad here, but crime's kicking up. And I've seen the corporate media news where it's just all over. So I think George Soros has his hand in Jade Helm. He definitely has his. It's black and white. He's in the on paper that he's in the race war. So my advice is to start stocking up now. Get what goods you can. Get a plan ready if you don't already have one. And get right with God. Because He is ultimately the one that can save you. That's all I have time for now. I want to thank you for tuning in. God bless and carry on.